Everybody knows how it feels to be isolated in self-quarantine, but what if you add a mysterious killer that watches your every steps while you take your daily Zoom calls without bothering to wear any pants? Yeah, it's not fun, is it? The film takes place in April 2020, about a month after COVID was declared a pandemic. A college student named Tyler is grocery shopping while practicing very unsafe habits such as pulling down his mask and rubbing his face, clearly aiming to boost his natural immune system. Pretty good idea. He receives a text from an unknown number asking him by name if he wants to party and is tested for the disease. Tyler quickly gets annoyed though, since they don't share their identity, telling them to GTFO. The texts don't stop, however, and get increasingly creepy when they send a picture of him currently standing in line. He flips off the crowd behind him and leaves. Fair play. Once in his car, he gets an unknown call. Either this is the same person again, or an insurance company employee on his first day on a job. In either case, his response of answering with F to the U seems appropriate. He drives home, brings his groceries inside and begins to disinfect them. While doing so, Tyler notices his apartment door is open. When closing it, his TV turns on by itself. Very confused by this, he takes a good while before turning it back off, giving the audience plenty of time to notice the shadowy figure approaching. Thankfully, Tyler notices the attacker's reflection and is able to block the initial knife swing. A struggle ensues, with Tyler narrowly avoiding death as he gets thrown around and stabbed in the hand. He isn't able to get out of the front door, but manages to barricade himself in a room using a dresser. More or less safe and secure and still in possession of his cell phone to call for help, Tyler does the most logical thing, grabbing a baseball bat and heading back out. So down a hand and armed with an ideally two-handed weapon, Tyler makes his way into the hall. He sees his front door is open again and cautiously approaches. While staring out from the threshold for a good 15 seconds or so, the killer sneaks up from behind and, well, goes for the finishing move. I guess this movie is not about Tyler then. Nevertheless, that could have gone better, right? Let's have a look. It's pretty common these days to receive texts from unknown numbers, but it's far less common for them to know your name. That's a pretty big red flag, my friends. Now this could just be a friend with a new phone, but it could also be someone with a personal vendetta. In either case, it's probably best not to throw insults at them before knowing who they are, especially with the giant red flag of them showing that they are close by. Ideally, we should take this as a legitimate threat, right? Stay unreactive but in the store, among other people, and call the cops. We have enough evidence to show the police that we're being harassed, and they may send someone out for our protection or put us up in a safe place for the night. If we don't get any help though, we should at least double check that we are not followed when we leave, and that no one is around or inside our car waiting to strike. You know, aiming for the Achilles from underneath the car. Once home, even on a good night, we should make sure that the door is locked, right? Crooks take advantage of people leaving doors unlocked and, well, believe me when I say they try this every day. Plus, we already have a confirmed stalker watching us, so extra secure tonight is the way to go. If your door is open and you didn't open it, you better protect your neck. If somehow we manage to ignore all the warning signs that Tyler has ignored, anything turning on by itself in the home is the final nail in the coffin. If a killer is in the house though, and we manage to escape to a locked room, stay put and call for help, using either our cell phone or just shouting out the window. Even with a proper weapon, there is no reason to risk our lives using it. And if we are the super macho guy and want to stand our ground, which, you know, is a legitimate reason as well, at the very minimum we should call emergency services for backup and medical attention, just in case, for us or the intruder. We're now introduced to our main victims, I mean characters of course, Parker and Miri. They're heading up to Parker's family lake house for quarantine, miles away from civilization. The closest neighbor is apparently 2 miles away and across the lake, so they should be completely safe here, right? Well, while relaxing on the lakeside, Parker gets a text from an unknown number telling her to jump in, the water's fine. The girls ignore this despite getting another mystery text previously, believing that it's just a friend messing with them since they posted all over social media that they would be staying there. However, that is the exact reason they should be taking this seriously, with help so far away and plenty of people knowing they're completely isolated. All it takes is for one degenerate to get wind of their situation and decide to take advantage for their lives to be at stake. I've never understood how people could have their social media accounts public anyway. I mean, you also use doors, right? It's like anybody can enter your home without any surveillance. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Now later that night, while the girls are enjoying drinks, someone pulls into the driveway. Parker wants to investigate, but Miri doesn't trust the situation and readies a knife. Smart choice if you ask me. The driver starts to ring the bell and pounds the door, staying silent when the girls ask who's there. Now against all common sense, Parker decides to open the door brandishing the knife. However, there is no one there. This is just like the situation Tyler was in before. There is no reason to leave safety and risk injury or death with or without a weapon. She could have opened that door to be hit with a shotgun blast for all we know, which a knife would do little to help with. Inside, Miri, instead of looking through the plethora of windows around the house, decides to stare straight ahead, letting someone sneak in the back and surprise her. Thankfully, it's just DJ, Parker's previous lover. Creep. He didn't identify himself because he is on the phone with a job interview. What the hell? Yeah, a totally normal human thing to do in the middle of the night, when approaching a friend's house unannounced and banging on the door before trespassing inside uninvited. For sure, great friend right there. He's lucky they didn't have a shotgun. The girls reluctantly let DJ stay and they spent the night getting drunk, high, and of course dancing. As everyone gets ready for bed, we see the same goofy looking ninja who killed Tyler watching nearby. DJ goes to his truck to retrieve things, but leaves the front door wide open. We get a few more scenes of the ninja stalking the girls as they do their bedtime routine, which doesn't include making sure everything is locked, of course.
He's just standing there, menacingly!
Finally, we see the intruder enter Parker's room as she sleeps, blissfully unaware of the danger that lurks over her. Completely helpless to defend herself, the invading presence approaches and steals her cell phone. The worst thing that could happen. Parker is soon after woken up by the basement sound system playing music. She assumes it's to be DJ, but he silently grabs her from behind and says that there is someone in the house. With both of them missing their phones and unable to call for help, DJ volunteers to get Miri and hands his truck keys to Parker so she can climb down from the balcony to get the vehicle ready. After climbing down, Parker runs past Miri's room and sees the ninja inside. Miri wakes in the nick of time and dodges the attack as DJ comes to help. While the two wrestle, Miri flees outside and the girls get in the truck. Now as the girls, we have a choice, right? The cold logic approach would be to just leave right now and just hope DJ escapes on his own. However, the braver, warm logic approach would be to help DJ directly by ganging up on a single attacker. Even with a knife, it would be harder for them to take down 3 people at once, especially if we grab a weapon ourselves from the kitchen beforehand. Let me know what you would do, escape or gang up on the guy. Our characters choose continuously honk the car horn and wait. Kind of the worst of both ideas, since they are still in harm's way while DJ is still, about to be killed. He does manage though to get out of the room, but instead of going for the exit, picks up a deer skull with a huge set of antlers and slams it into the attacker. And DJ is smart enough to go for the double tap. Unfortunately, he is not smart enough to use the heavy object for that, and elects to use a kick, ending up being stabbed for it. He decides to fully retreat to the vehicle now, but will he make it? Well, the girls wait patiently with the truck a considerable distance away from the door. I mean, they could drive closer to him, maybe even turn the thing around, but hey, what do I know? Now DJ suddenly opens the door but looks hurt, and instead of just driving up to him, Parker once again leaves safety and gets out of the vehicle. Why? Why would he do that? Unfortunately, DJ is not okay, as the killer has impaled him on a curtain rod. Parker retreats to the car, and instead of running their attacker over with the truck, Miri decides to gun it in reverse. Like, for a while, without ever attempting to turn it around. Eventually, she loses control and crashes. No sh**. While her super lengthy reverse was anything but good considering the bad visibility and chasing murderer, we did get a small shot of the tire that seemed to malfunction. However, the tire does not just slip off a wheel, right? Implying that the invader did a semi-good job in preventing them from escaping. Arguably, however, if they turned the car around, I'm sure they could have gained enough distance to eventually escape by foot. Now, however, with the truck stuck and the killer approaching, the girls rush back into the house. Parker guides them up to a secluded room on the top floor where she breaks a window so that they can get to the roof. As they walk along the outside of the house, the killer breaks another window, causing Miri to fall down. Once across, the left-behind Parker runs downstairs to check on her friend. She goes to the front door, but the killer is already outside and charges in. She runs to the kitchen where a struggle ensues, in which she actually gains the upper hand by using a blender's space to smash in the killer's face. 6 times in fact, making her one of the smartest, most double-tapping protagonists in horror film history. Hell yeah. The victory is short-lived, however, as a before unknown second killer enters the chat. This one immediately starts to mourn their lost teammate as Parker takes a chance to check on her friend. Now, while safety is a priority, we just established that potential threats can be ended with a blender. We should use this opportunity to attack the second killer while they're distracted. A second invader also automatically implies a potentially third or even fourth one, so taking this one out, especially in a moment of distraction, would be great. She finds Miri is still alive but has a broken leg. Warning her about the second killer, she tells her to play dead while she hides behind a tree. Once behind the tree, she throws a stone to distract the stalker and attempts to run to the lakeside. Intuitively, the lake seems like a good spot, but is it really? Before we follow this storyline, let's review the moments leading up to this. Now, it's hard to forgive our girls the missed chance to escape while being in a running car. That they reversed and panic can be excused, however, you eventually have to turn the car around. A murderer without a rifle at best will scratch the car or break a window. Even if they got near the car with the doors locked and you flooring the pedal, it would have been impossible for them to stop our characters from escaping. In fact, even a car with only 3 tires on, although difficult to steer, will work to some extent. Meaning if this was indeed the invaders' doing, there were better ways to render the car useless. After that escape failed, the girls had a couple of options, mainly where to escape to. Now, going for the house though was probably the worst decision. I mean, I understand that running through the woods late at night with a knife-wielding chaser behind you isn't exactly fun, but trying to hide in a house in which you were literally home invaded 20 minutes ago, as well as saw your friend being impaled by a curtain rod 5 minutes ago, I don't know guys, it wouldn't make my top 10 hiding spots right now. However, as we know, the girls have gone to the house regardless and eventually opted for the roof. Miri fell, and even though she luckily just broke her leg, with chasing murderers behind you, that's pretty much a death sentence, right? Plus, why did they choose the roof anyway? That is literally cornering yourself in the best possible way. The only positive thing about being on a rooftop is that there are only a few ways leading up to there, which, when cut off or guarded, would make it difficult for anyone trying to get to you to actually get to you. However, without any means to call for help, nor the possibility of someone just coming by who can be asked for help in this area, the roof at best will be a prison without any shelter or access to food. Bad decision. The best option for them was simply to just gain as much distance to their chasers as possible. Now, let's cut back to Parker who, as we know, started her journey to the lakeside. Unfortunately though, her chaser is following her closely, prompting her to defend herself using the canoe oar to bash the killer's face in. But instead of, double tapping like before, she unties part of the pier and uses it as a raft to escape into the lake. After paddling for a bit and seeing no one following her, nor hearing anyone, the killer suddenly appears in the water and even snatches the oar away. That is kind of unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, firstly, whoever this is must have iron lungs, right? Chasing someone for multiple hours at this point, and then diving in a pitch black lake trying to catch someone on a makeshift raft, I don't know, it's a bit too convenient. Now the struggle builds up and continues until her hand is injured, forcing her into the water, abandoning the raft and continuing her escape swimming. She eventually makes it to the shore though and even gets to the neighbor's house, but due to exhaustion can only feebly knock and quietly call out. So instead she sneaks in through a nearby window just moments before the killer runs past. Inside she is confronted by her neighbor Mr. Lyon, who she is able to convince of her predicament. He tries to bring her to a phone, but unfortunately the killer has also snuck in and quickly dispatches of the neighbor. I guess locking windows and locking doors is foreign to those people. Well, now fleeing again, Parker makes it to a roadside and hides behind a log. The killer doesn't seem to see her and decides to wander off. Now Parker has 2 options. Either venture back to Mr. Lyon's house and use the phone in there, or continue escaping through the woods. Either option is feasible, however, when escaping you should travel off-street. Sure, you have better visibility on the streets and can see your surroundings better, but the same goes for everyone else. Yeah, in case you wonder, this means she is caught immediately. Should have watched Lord of the Rings. While struggling with the killer, he gets distracted by a car pulling up. Parker uses this opportunity to smash his head in with a stick in range. She gives a few extra smacks, but instead of, finishing off the guy, or at least taking their knife away, she runs to the car for help. Now, it's not the worst thing you could do in this situation, but, get the knife still. Now, the lady in the car seems concerned and refuses to let Parker in because she isn't wearing a mask. Yeah. Now, the woman slides a mask through the car window and then lets Parker in as soon as she's wearing it. However, the woman doesn't drive off and instead just stares at Parker, who gets dizzy and passes out from the chloroform-soaked mask. Now, we can't blame her for not expecting this. Seems like she can't trust anyone around here. There wasn't much she could have done differently other than finish off the other killer when she had the chance to. Now, the creeps bring Parker back to the lake house and perform a virus swab test on her. While waiting for the results, they give a massive exposition dump explaining that the dead ninja in the kitchen was actually their son, and that their other son Benji died of the virus recently. Because of a bunch of Instagram and Twitter posts with a video of him and Parker kissing, they believe that he was infected from an end-of-the-world party that she apparently attended as well. And to avenge his death, the family decided to kill everyone involved in spreading the virus there. Alright. Now, while they're talking, the husband notices the Wi-Fi being used. He disconnects the router and goes to discover that Miri's body is missing. Turns out that after playing dead, she went inside and made a makeshift splint for herself. Afterwards, she patiently awaited the killer's return, hid in the kitchen, and waited until they were distracted to grab her laptop and send a message for help to the police. Now, why in the world she chose to make a DIY splint for 30 minutes instead of just using the laptop immediately is a great question to ask, my friends. Not only would both be saved by now, but she would also receive an actual professional splint. It would have also let her use the Wi-Fi without being noticed. But with Miri lacks in wisdom though, she makes up with courage, people. As while the man is out looking for her, she sneaks up on the wife from behind and cracks her over the head with a bottle, as Parker follows up by shoving her through a pane of glass. Then of course they don't bother to double tap at all. Guess they're back to being standard horror film protagonists again. As the two head for the door, they see the husband returning, so they head upstairs. Upon entering, the man notices a trail of blood the girls left behind and follows it. I'm not sure if that is Parker's hand or Miri's leg leaving that much blood behind, but whoever it is won't be lasting long if they're constantly losing that much fluid. At the top of the stairs, the girls perform an ambush, with Miri going for the man's heels and Parker charging him over the railing onto the antlers below. Pretty good attack, not gonna lie, but I still don't know where Miri came from, especially with a broken leg. And spraying an aerosol can while running will likely blind yourself just as much, if not more, than your target. Still, they got a job done, so thumbs up for that. Now, if only they had taken out the wife for good before as well, they wouldn't have any potential threats left to face, but they didn't. They escape to a nearby barn and try to get a golf cart started. As Parker goes to pick up fuel for it, the wife comes in swinging an axe. Blocking it with a gas can though, Parker coats the woman in gasoline and after knocking her away tosses Miri a sparker, which she quickly uses to set the mad woman ablaze. Let the light be your guide, my friends. Now, the woman has two options. A. Perform the basic fire safety technique of stop, drop, and roll, or run down the street screaming and flailing like a drunken banshee, then fall on the ground and, Let's see what she chooses. Of course she did. The second option. Alright, let's end this video a bit differently than normal. Was there anything the killers could have done better? Well, right away we can point out that there is zero reason to text any victims up ahead. All this will do is cause them to be more alert, possibly get help, and leaves evidence connecting us to them. Of course, the family is full of sociopaths looking for people to blame, so I guess common sense is foreign to them anyway. However, since they do care about wiping out certain people, why did they waste time by stealing their victims' phones? They could have just easily gone for the strike and ended it right there. There was no reason to wake them up and start a chase to begin with, right? On top of that, since there are 3 killers in the family, they could have just gone into the lake house together, each one targeting a different victim. Then, they could have taken all targets out in unison while they slept and be done at once. They too should have watched Lord of the Rings. Now back in the present moment, our heroines walk out to see a slew of police cars arriving. No EMTs for some reason though. Still, they're safe, even though not a single cop steps out of their vehicle. I guess a burning woman and 2 bloodied college students aren't enough of an emergency. Well, and that was this story, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed our video today. Leave a comment if you have anything to add. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, check out our latest video right here, where we serve you a gruesome 8-course dinner covering the worst meals served in horror films to date. Take care and catch you again next week. Binge another one.